Alright, so today we're gonna start utilizing the template that we created in my previous video. We're gonna learn to utilize it with a real project. To be honest, I'm not very familiar with the project. I just listened to like a little demo, but this is how you go about it. So you pretty much create a session, which I created, but in order for you to do it, you just press Command N and it asks you, what name it is gonna be. And oh, my bad. So once you get the files, and the files are right here, you wanna go to the folder, open these waves up, forget about MP3 just for a second. You open them in QuickTime, like this. Once they're in QuickTime, you want to press Command I to open that inspector window, and you take a peek here, you look, and it says 3244. Then you select one of the files and you start closing them while the inspector window updates. And then 3244, boom, 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 boom. All of them are 3244. And that's what I write here in my folder name. All right, so now I know all of these files are that. And then these guys, you also do that. You open them and you see 2444. You start closing them up and you write it there. So when you create a new session file, you tap Command N in Pro Tools, and then you give it your name. And I usually write the sample rate as well. I'm gonna work in 24-bit and 44 sample rate. And that's what I set here. I set 44 and 24 wave. It's already created for me. So the next step, what you wanna do is you select reference, for instance, and you go File, Import, Audio. And instead of searching stuff here, you can do a simple step. You just go to a folder which has them and you grab these guys like that and you just put them in a Pro Tools window. And because it needs not to be converted, we're doing it without conversion. They're already, they're already actually added to my audio folder. That's where you select them and you put them here, add all, open, session start. Now this is something to do with the beat, so I'll just give them, this color, make them small, repeat the step for importing, and I'll just go to another folder, which is this here, and I'll just grab it like that and add all. And those are vocals. All right, I'll give it that color. What you want to do next is you want to align the session. This is very important. But also what you need to know is in every track, there is this feature, Timebase selector samples or ticks. So every track can be either in time or ticks, and there's a huge difference. And let me show you the difference. Like I had, for instance, like a few breakpoints like that, something was chopped up and I need to change the BPM. So when stuff is in ticks mode for all of these tracks and I change the BPM, that's what's gonna happen. You don't want that. So in order for you to change the grid, but to keep the audio regions intact, select samples for all of your tracks here. Once you put them in a samples base mode, then whenever you drag the BPM, nothing will happen. Only the grid will change, all right? So let's just undo all of that stuff up to this point. There's a function here called tab to transient, and what it does is, for instance, there's a, like a snare here, okay? And so when this single snare track is selected, then once you press tab on your keyboard like this, it'll just jump to the next transient, all right? So this is a very useful function for you to, chop things up. And we want to determine where the beat starts, like the 4, 3, 2, 1. Where is that beginning? So we're gonna listen to the beat. I don't want to measure it by the string here. I want to measure it by the kick. So I guess this is the beginning. It is. So while the kick track is selected, we'll press tab and that's where the region is. And then we select all of these audio tracks while the playhead is still at the same position. And then in Pro Tools, we just tap A to delete stuff before the playhead, like that, okay? We don't need the rest. And then while all of them are selected, we'll press Command A to select all of these guys. And we just, while in grid mode, not relative grid, but grid mode, we just drag them to the closest next bar. And now we can put a marker here. I'll just use my key combination, just to mark that first beat. And then we just drag out the beginning. All right, so now we know that this is the exact first bar, and this is where the whole song starts. This is where it ends. The tempo definitely is not 120. I know what the tempo is, but I want to show you how to determine the tempo in Pro Tools, because for a beginner, it is not as easy as you think. Although I prefer this way of finding the tempo versus other DAWs. You can use online tools like BPM Finder, Google that up, and you'll be able to just, feed it your audio, and it'll tell you what it is. But before I do that, I really wanted to load a reference file. So now we'll just mute the reference, and we'll just start with, with some drums here, because the drums determine the tempo. And so we take, and we know that the first drop is here. Yep, it's right there. So what you want to do next to find that BPM. In Pro Tools, there are two tempo rulers per se, and one is manual and another one is called Conductor. This is the icon right here. In order for you to find the tempo the way I'm going to show you, you want to make sure the Conductor track is on, and once it's on, you just tap to Transient, click before it, and in the selected track with a tap to Transient on, in the Conductor on, you just press Tab and you press Command I to bring this Add Bar beat marker up. And now it says 15.1. This is not what we want. Instead, we just press 1, and then we'll find the next drum hit, which is this one, right? Or this, for the bar, for the whole bar. So we press Apple I and we give it a 2. And this will be 3. This will be, I just press tab, this will be 4. And this will be 5, to have full 4 bars, I guess. And on top here, you can see the numbers that say, the difference between the markers. They're like 74.8, 75.1, whatever. Pretty much it's telling me that 74 to 75, it's 75. And I know it's 75, but we just determined it manually. So you wanna delete those or undo or whatever. I'll just do undo, so 75. So now we know it's 75, so you switch the conductor off and you tap 75. Yeah, this is the first bar right here. So we tap to Transient again, and then while it's blinking, flashing over here, we'll select all of these files and we'll press A on the keyboard, and we'll just drag it to the next blue grid line over here, like that. In the normal grid mode, in the blue one, we'll just put a marker so that we know that this is the first drop. So here we go. Now we do the same thing with the demo, and we already know that the whole song tempo is exactly 75. So we'll just take the demo, which I cannot play to you, but I'll just do it on my own. This is the beginning right here. And for this region inside of the playlist, this is the one. So the difference between this and this, the top one is the demo with voice and the beat, and this one here is just the beat demo. So see, now it all aligns up, and we drag the beginning out, and everything is perfectly in sync. If the BPM is a little bit off, it's gonna be perfect in the beginning, but the further it plays, the further it becomes more and more wrong. So you wanna check the beginning, like say the midsection and the end, and if it's all perfectly aligned, then you have a perfect BPM. So that's very important. The next step that I do, I just ignore the reference right now because I will need the reference just to see if my balances are different from what they expected. If I do my own mixing, sometimes they're off, and I just want to kind of consult with the initial file just to know what the expectations of the artist are. So I'll just take all of my tracks that are colored as drums, I'll put them in the beat all routing folder, and whatever the vocals were, I'll just put them in the voc all. And now it's so neat, sweet, but not complete. So we go to the beat all, and I want to kind of like, you know, see where everything is. I'll just start doing that real quick. Drums, the kick and the bass, see? I'll put them in the kick bass group because I like to separate them out. And they're gonna go to kick bass group. Although they're in the folder, they're not routed there. So in order for you to route it, you press Shift, Option, and you click on either one of them, and you send it to kick bass group. And I like to have the kick like, you know, like brown, and the bass will be like reddish brown or whatever. For the instruments, I'll just drag them there, and I'll send it to the instruments group the same way that we just did with the kick and the bass. Same goes for the drums with the kick excluded because we group the lower instruments together, which are the bass and the kick. The kick is usually called bass drum, so bass and bass drum together. We'll send those drums things into the drum group, and you know, effects group is either for effects, but we have none in here. So whatever the vocals are, those are kind of like instruments, but they're not. So I like to separate them. So I'll just make these to be effects. Why not? You know what I mean? Everything is routed where it needs to go and muted, so we shouldn't get any sound when I play it, and I cannot show it to you. But you know, these guys, they go to effects, this goes to drums, this goes to instrument. Everything is working perfectly. And if I mute the beat all, but I unmute those guys, the subgroups, they're actually feeding it to the beat all. So now it's perfect. You know, you can give it your own colors. Right now, everything is aligned perfectly. It's routed and muted, and it is playing. So the next step would be to see if it's properly aligned with the demo, and here's my secret technique. It's very simple, but not many people use it. I don't know why. I just came up with it many years ago, and it's been always helpful. So what I like to do is to make the before hard left and the after hard right. And if they're properly aligned in sync, in tempo and horizontal domain, and they're properly aligned in the gain in the vertical domain, then instead of being the hard left and the hard right difference, they will become like one intact stereo file. So let's check that. Yep, it's perfectly aligned. Everything is routed, everything is playing, everything is perfect. So I guess in the next video, we're just gonna delve into one of the projects that I can show you, and we're gonna start doing something with it. But this is how you prepare the session in my template that I've showed you in my previous videos. You can watch it on my channel. Right now, this is just all about, doing correct stuff. And first off, some gain staging has to take place. We got like 25 tracks. If one track eats the whole room, then 25, it will be overloading. It will be. So you need to gain stage it. When you mix, you don't mix in full blast. To make audio, to make songs, tracks loud, you do it at the end. You don't do it in the beginning. So this was the video on how to utilize this template, on how to properly manage your session, how to create BPM matching, how to match reference files, how to do all that stuff. So if you want more knowledge and more secrets to help you advance your production, to be a proper sound engineer, keep watching my channel, put those thumbs up, those likes, subscribe, and we're just gonna, develop from here. So instead of giving random bits and chunks, we're just gonna start from developing the right habits, understanding some concepts, and to apply them in practice. So I think that's the most useful stuff. We're gonna definitely enjoy doing different studio geeky stuff, and we're gonna come up with results, and you're gonna grow by learning from me. So this was your boy Ryder. Subscribe, and let me just keep doing what I need to do. Peace.